CCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160, quarter away from 9 o'clock, and our conversation with the folks from the Indiana County Historical and Genealogical Society up next. Brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. We'll have Senator Joe Pittman with us in our next half hour, and then the Learning Tree Homeschool Group has a musical coming up, and we want to learn about that in our 9 o'clock hour as well. But right now, here on Indiana in the Morning, we welcome Jonathan Bogert from the Indiana County Historical and Genealogical Society, and with him is Dr. Ben Ford, and we talk about, well, sometimes history gets a little bit dirty. You got to get a little dirt underneath your nails, and that has happened. Dr. Ford, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's good to have you with us. Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. Thanks for having us.
Now, you have an event coming up where you're going to talk about the work that Dr. Ford has been doing.
Yeah, so Dr. Ford's going to talk about the work that Dr. Ford's been doing, so that's good. But yes, coming up in a little over a week on Thursday, April 21st at 6:30 p.m., folks can come to the Armory and listen to Dr. Ford talk about the work that he's done in the southern part of the county at the Newport site. Now, some folks, when they hear Newport, might think of Rhode Island, not Indiana, and they would be right if they looked at a modern map, because there is no town of Newport, just a road, Newport Road.
Yeah.
And but that's because the town itself has since ceased to exist. It was founded back it's in the southern part of the county along the Conemaugh, and was founded back in the late 1700s, and was actually up to be the county seat for a time. There was consideration between Blairsville, Newport, Armagh, and Indiana, but the county of Indiana had not yet been formed. So as a result, when the boundaries were finally drawn up, the Conemaugh became the southern boundaries of Indiana County. Newport was sort of out of the running. Fortunately, we're here today at the county seat here, but Newport itself just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. People moved away, and now there's nothing left of the town except in writings that we have but Dr. Ford fortunately has brought a lot of the physical evidence of the town to light, and helps to eliminate some of those misconceptions about the area and shed new light on the space.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Ford, I grew up in Bolivar, and so the Pack-Saddle Gap has always been something that is a mystery to us. But in terms of Blairsville, the Pack-Saddle Gap, where is Newport when we think about it as we look down on it from above?
So Newport is about 2 miles northwest of Blairsville, so just kind of west on the Conemaugh there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you became interested in this particular site how long ago?
We've done archaeology there since 2019. So we did an archaeological field school through IUP in 2019, and then again in 2021.
And what did you discover?
So most of the town is still there. It's now it's all wooded and farm fields, and so it doesn't look like anything, except for you can see a little bit of the historic road that cuts through the farm field. But when you excavate down, there are whole foundations still there that are actually made out of fairly substantial stones. And so we've got what we think might be a hotel, what might be the store and post office, and a couple other buildings that we've identified. We found some roads, found some infrastructure, and then in and around all of these are broken ceramics and glass and animal bone and some metal artifacts that sort of tell us about commerce and life in the late 1700s and early 1800s in what becomes Indiana County.
Yeah, and I know that it must fascinate you to be a part of it and to know that it's so local. Tell me about the student workers that are able to do something like this.
Sure. So IUP Anthropology, we have a real strong archaeology program. We prepare students to go work for the federal government or work for consultants in the archaeology industry to support development throughout Indiana County and throughout Pennsylvania and the United States. And so part of that training is how to actually do archaeology, how to excavate and record in a scientific way so we can tell these stories about the past. And so every year we run an archaeological field school where we take anywhere from 10 to 30 students out and sort of have hands-on sort of mentor-based training with them. And so in 2021, we had actually 30 students from across the nation and 1 or 2 from overseas join us here in Indiana County to learn how to do archaeology. And we go back and forth. So this coming summer, we'll be at what's called the Squirrel Hill site down by New Florence. And so we do sort of a pre-contact and historic archaeology back and forth so students can get a variety of experiences.
Yeah. And that's the neighborhood I grew up in as well. It's kind of interesting because when we think about it, there's one image of archaeology that says it's picks and shovels. There's another that says it's toothbrushes and teaspoons. It's actually somewhere between those two, isn't it?
True. Yeah, it's basically picking the right tool for the job, right? So sometimes you use a backhoe because you have to move a lot of soil and you need to get down to a certain layer, and you know there's nothing above it. And sometimes it's dental picks and bamboo skewers because you're working around something very small and delicate.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all about picking the right tool. I mean, my most of my training is underwater archaeology, and so that involves scuba diving, right? So it's sort of picking the right thing to get the job done the right way.
Yeah. In this particular case, with this particular site, in terms of either square footage or acreage, what are we talking about?
In terms of the site itself,
Yes.
it covers a couple acres. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, at its height, it had probably about 30 families living in it. Had a couple blacksmith shops, a store, and a post office, like an actual federal post office was there for about 10 years in the 1810s. It had a scythe factory and supposedly a nail factory and a hatter and a carding mill. So it was a whole sort of commercial place there, plus some boat builders, because that was why it was there, was to ship things along the Conemaugh. So it was going concern, and it sort of spread out along kind of the hillside there.
Mm-hmm.
We've only excavated within a much smaller portion of it because it takes us a while to do things. So we've probably excavated somewhere in the order of maybe 50 square meters out of that much bigger area. So we're very sort of careful about where we put our efforts.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jonathan, tell me about Historical and Genealogical Society becoming involved to the point that you're able to put this program on.
Well, Dr. Ford actually we have been in contact regularly on a number of things historically related to Indiana County, and he had been doing this work down at the Newport site, and he approached me and said, well, would you be interested in hearing about it, or at least me doing a talk on it? And we said, sure, that would be fantastic. And our event schedule worked out. There were dates that worked for us and that worked for Dr. Ford. And we thought it would be a fascinating subject that a lot of people would be interested in. And we actually already have about 25 people signed up just with a little bit of PR that we've done. So there is definitely an interest in the Newport site.
Oh, I would guess, especially from people in that area of Indiana County who want to know what's around there, what happened there many generations ago.
Oh, absolutely.
So do people have to sign up ahead of time, or can they just show?
Yes. So, folks, we do ask that just so we have a head count, so we know how many chairs to set up, we do ask that people call in or register on our website, which they can do through our website, hgsic.org/events. There's a simple form that you can fill out there, gets you on our list. But we do welcome people at the door. The event is free, so we want as many people to hear about this information as possible, because that's part of our mission, is getting that history of Indiana County out.
We'll get that time frame from you again in a couple of moments. Dr. Ford, the program itself, how are you going to structure it? Is it slides? Is it artifacts?
It'll be mostly talking and slides and answering questions, and so so that way I can show maps and sort of show where this place was and what it might have looked like, and then some images of the excavations and the artifacts we've recovered, and just sort of present the history of it and then present how we found it, and then talking. I think importantly with this site is it doesn't last super long, but people invested in it, right? And so it's sort of almost like a nursery for what becomes Indiana County in terms of some of the first doctors and blacksmiths and business people start there. And so kind of try to put it in that larger context of what becomes where we all live today.
Now, as a teacher with students there, I'm sure for the students, they have many eye-opening experiences, and someone might look at you and say, well, you've been doing this for a lot of years. There's probably nothing surprises you. Was there anything at this site that opened your eyes a I'm
gonna pretend like you didn't just call me old, but yeah.
No, I did.
Yeah, you did. That's what I thought. There's been some really interesting stuff. I mean, just the massiveness of the structures is actually a little bit surprising. And probably the coolest artifact we found though was a 1793 guinea token. So it looks like a coin. It has a date like a coin, but it actually wasn't legal tender. It was used for counting or gambling. And so it gets a little bit of what was going on at the town, but also helps put a nice date on that particular piece of the town. And that's just something we don't find all that often. Yeah.
What about inhabitants and cemeteries and those sorts of things?
So there wasn't a church or a cemetery at the site based on the historical records. So we don't have to worry about that. And we have not found any evidence of burials, which is a plus, actually.
Yeah. I would guess that would call in a whole different set of protocols. And you'd have to get used to that. So this event coming up, Jonathan, for the Historical and Genealogical, this is really a literal groundbreaking event, isn't it?
Yes, literally a groundbreaking event. So Again, if folks want to come, April 21st, it's a Thursday, 6:30 p.m. in the Armory.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said that you're going to be going down, Dr. Ford, to the New Florence area. Where in that area are you going?
My colleague will be down there, actually.
Okay.
So another professor from the Indiana University, Pennsylvania anthropology department will be down there this summer. And it's a site called Squirrel Hill. It's, again, like a lot of things we do, it's in a farm field,
Yeah.
but right down there, kind of on the Westmoreland line. So yeah, it's a really neat pre-contact Native American site that was a village. So again, sort of an earlier village in this area, because people have lived here for a long, long time.
Yeah, we might think that we need to go traveling far afield, literally, in order to find history, but it's right underneath our feet.
Right in your backyard, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, gentlemen, thanks so much for coming in to tell us about it. April 21st.
April 21st, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. at the Armory.
Very good. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you,
is the
Jeff.
voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. And we're just about 3.5 minutes away from the top of the hour. AccuWeather says the sunshine that we're seeing this morning will give way to clouds this afternoon and probably some rain in the area, 63. We ought to be okay for tomorrow. The Pirates' home opener against the Cubs looks like we're going to be at about 65 degrees. And